It's early morning. In the center of a silent courtyard, a man kneels. He wears white. In front of him, a small blade gleams under the soft glow of lanterns. He takes a deep breath. Steady hands reach for the blade. And then he cuts. This was seppuku, the samurai's ritual suicide, done not out of weakness, but as a final act of honor. A choice, a farewell that carried meaning. For the samurai, death wasn't defeat. It was a final stand, a moment of full control over what mattered most, his honor. But today, centuries later, no one kneels before a blade. And yet, something still aches inside us. A hollow space, a quiet absence. We no longer fight on battlefields. We don't carry swords or live by strict codes, but we're caught in a new kind of war, an invisible one. A war inside. So why do we still feel lost? Why, despite everything we have, do we feel like something is missing? Could it be that we've traded physical pain for a different kind of suffering? The pain of living without meaning. In this video, we'll explore what the philosophy behind seppuku reveals about modern nihilism and why the absence of purpose has become one of the greatest enemies of our time. For centuries, samurai lived by an invisible code that guided every choice, every gesture, every sacrifice. It was called Bushido, the way of the warrior. More than a combat manual, Bushido was a philosophy, a moral compass. It taught that living with honor was more important than living long. The code was built on 7 core virtues: justice, courage, compassion, courtesy, sincerity, honor, and loyalty. An almost impossible ideal, but one they strived for with discipline. A samurai who lost his honor didn't run. He accepted the consequences with calm resolve. Seppuku, in this context, wasn't madness. It was extreme coherence. The body was temporary, but reputation, that would live on. In feudal Japan, the greatest failure wasn't dying in battle, it was surviving with shame. And here's where it starts to mirror our modern world. Because even without a code like Bushido, we still long for something to tell us, this is worth living for. But when that something disappears, what's left? Seppuku wasn't done in desperation. It was planned. It was ritual. The samurai wore white, the color of purity. He knelt in silence. In front of him, a short ceremonial blade called a tanto. At his side stood the kaishakunin, a trusted companion, ready to end his pain swiftly. The cut wasn't random. It moved from left to right, across the belly, believed to be the seat of courage and truth. But why go to such lengths? Because for the samurai, this was the only way to reclaim what had been lost: his name, his honor, his legacy. Seppuku turned death into a declaration. It wasn't tragic. It was intentional. It was the last sentence in a life lived by principle. Even in his downfall, the samurai stayed in control. He chose how to die, and more importantly, why. And now we return to our world, a world where people often live without ever knowing why they're alive. Today, we no longer have codes like Bushido. No one teaches us how to die with honor, but worse, no one teaches us how to live with purpose. We live in an age of total freedom. We can be whoever we want, do whatever we like, and change our minds as often as we please. But that freedom came with a cost, the rise of something the samurai never faced: emptiness. In the 19th century, Friedrich Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," not as a provocation, but as a warning. The values that once gave life meaning were crumbling. Without direction, without absolutes, modern man is left with a terrifying question. What if nothing means anything? This is the heart of nihilism. No mission, no destiny, no reason to be. And for many, that's unbearable. It's no surprise the World Health Organization reports over 300 million people suffer from depression worldwide, not from hunger or war, but from a lack of meaning. Here's the paradox. Samurai faced death for a purpose. Today, we face life with none. When everything is allowed and nothing is sacred, existence becomes an open field, but an empty one. Sometimes freedom without direction feels more suffocating than a prison with meaning. Emptiness isn't new, it's just become more visible. Philosophers like Kierkegaard described it as the dizziness of freedom, that uneasy feeling when we realize we're fully responsible for our own lives and no one's coming to save us. But few understood it better than Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl wrote that those who survived the camps weren't always the strongest. They were the ones who had a reason to live, a why that kept them going. He believed that humans could endure almost any suffering if they had a purpose. But without it, even a comfortable life can feel unbearable. Today, many people have food, shelter, and stability, yet feel lost, not because something is wrong on the outside, but because something's missing on the inside. And emptiness isn't silent. It shows up in insomnia, in overthinking, in a sadness we can't explain. Purpose is what gives weight to our existence. It's what turns chaos into direction. Without it, life loses its rhythm, its color, and its reason. Seppuku was brutal, but it carried meaning. It was a message, a final statement of control over one's own fate. Modern nihilism doesn't scream. It doesn't bleed. It settles in quietly, numbing people from the inside out. The samurai faced death head-on to defend what he believed in. Today, many drift through life, avoiding belief altogether. That's the paradox. Would you rather die for something or live for nothing? The real pain isn't in dying, it's in having no reason to live. When nothing matters, even waking up can feel like a burden. Life becomes mechanical, pointless, flat. So here's a haunting thought. Could someone who dies for a cause actually be more alive than someone who's simply breathing without one? Purpose, even when painful, gives shape to our choices. Without it, we move, but go nowhere. The samurai had a code, and maybe we don't have one anymore, so what now? The answer might lie in what Albert Camus called conscious rebellion. Instead of searching for meaning out there, we create it, even knowing the universe might not offer one. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus describes a man cursed to push a boulder uphill forever. And yet, he ends with this strange idea. We must imagine Sisyphus happy, because even in absurdity, there's freedom. Purpose doesn't have to be epic. It can be small, quiet, personal, but it must be real. Maybe it's creating art, or raising a child, or planting a tree in a place no one sees. Whatever it is, it's something that whispers, this matters. Life takes a different shape when we stop waiting for meaning and start building one from the rubble. Maybe our modern Bushido is this, to live with intention, even when nothing is guaranteed. In the end, Seppuku isn't just about death, it's about choosing, even when there's nothing left to choose from. It's a brutal act, yes, but also a final declaration. Even in defeat, I decide who I am. In our world, people rarely make that kind of choice. Instead, they drift, numb, distracted, afraid to face their own silence. Maybe the real lesson of Seppuku isn't about dying with honor. Maybe it's about living with awareness. Because the greatest tragedy isn't death, it's never living with a why. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." And maybe that's our challenge today, to find something worth waking up for, something worth staying alive for, something that brings color to the gray. And if we can't find it ready-made, then maybe it's time we build it with our own hands. Seppuku isn't about glorifying death. It's a mirror, showing us how unbearable life becomes without meaning. We may not carry swords, but we still need a reason to stand. So I ask you, what's your Bushido? What code are you writing with your life? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's build meaning together. And if this video made you think, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, live with intention.